So how are you doing?
Not too bad. How are you? It
Oh, good, good. It was good to see you last
was good to
weekend at
see you as well.
Miami with WordPress and
Right.
WordCamp. Yeah.
Yeah. It was good to see you too.
Yeah, it's
This
been a
is
long
surprised. I didn't know
time.
you were coming down there. So when I saw you, I was like, "Hey, that's great."
Yeah, that was a very nice weekend.
Yeah, it was. It
And
worked out really, really well. We brought our kids down there, so they got a lot out of it, which was really good.
oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I remember the first time I saw you was actually at a WordPress meetup.
Yeah.
hmm
Was it downtown or where was it? Do you remember?
That was in downtown also, but it was I think it was a different location from what I could recall, and it was also being monitored by a different person too.
Yeah. I'm wondering if it was at the at Ideas.
Yes, yes, it was.
Ideas, right? Yeah.
So when did they make the switch?
I think that it had been going back and forth.
hmm
Um, we haven't been back there in a little while, and I think that's because they've been really really busy, and
hmm
so we just decided to find a new venue.
Very good. So, well, I remember first time I was there, I saw you doing a demo, and that was very impressive.
Thank you.
And that's the reason I was thinking, well, a lot of our viewers have questions about blogging or which website, if they're starting a website, they need some help. And I
Right.
thought, you're the first person I thought about.
Okay.
Yes. And I'm glad you still have the same email address. So,
Yeah. I don't think I'll be changing it anytime too soon.
good.
You know.
Well, tell us about your JP design theory. Is that the name you're using for commerce, or is it design theory you're using? Or tell us.
Yeah, it's design theory. I just got I wasn't able to buy JP or I wasn't able to buy designtheory.com, so I just put a JP in front of it. But yeah, the business name is actually. Let me step it back. Are we starting or?
Oh, you know what? I've been having it on pretty much throughout, and I'll edit it later
Oh,
on, so you don't have to
I
worry.
didn't know we were going. Okay.
We're just
All
being
right. So
very
then,
casual. So this way, people are more relaxed. Because in
got
the
it.
past, I noticed when we're just chatting, people are very comfortable and they put out a lot more information than once I mention, well, this is where, once I start, they tend to freeze up. So I thought, okay, let's
Okay.
just talk,
Okay.
let's just
Nah,
chat, and
it's no
that way,
problem at all.
yeah.
No problem at all. No, that works out just fine. Um, if you go back to the question, and then we can take
Sure,
it from there.
sure. Like the design theory or JP design theory, which one of the two are you really using for commerce, and how are you? Why is it that you're using which one?
Sure. Yeah. So, yeah, it's business name is actually Design Theory.
hmm
I wasn't able to purchase designtheory.com. It was already registered by somebody else, so I put a JP in front of it, which are my initials.
hmm
And so it's the website name is jpdesigntheory.com, but the business name is actually Design Theory LLC, and so that's the name, and that's how we operate. We do both WordPress websites, pretty much almost exclusively now in terms of websites. We started in 2008 with HTML websites, and then progressively, once I learned really about WordPress, started off with a blog, and then took it from there. I was like, well, this is kind of cool, and I started to realize we can use it more than just a blog. We can actually
hmm
make this, make a business website out of
Oh yeah.
WordPress, which was kind of cool.
hmm
And so we were able to do that, and when we did, we ended up almost enjoying it so much that I pretty much stopped building websites in HTML. So I did that, and then about a little over 3 years ago, I also started doing photography and added that into the mix too.
Mm.
And so
It's an exciting
that
world
was
we're in.
that was an exciting world. Yeah,
hmm
that was really nice. And so now being able to do photography, and the reason why we got into that was mainly because I started to get, have clients that were sending me images of their products or of their, their headshots and things like that that just weren't of good quality to use with the quality websites that we were creating. And so it was pretty evident. You could see that in what they were sending. So I was like, well, maybe I should just get a camera and offer this as a service, at least to them, to give them a better look. And being a creative outlet, I really enjoy doing it, and I almost do both of them just as much as I do the other.
Yeah,
Just the one by itself. So
it's
I do
wonderful.
both pretty much at the same time. I enjoy
Yeah.
it.
The way I understand it, nowadays about a third of the new websites or business websites are all using pretty much WordPress, isn't it? Or
Yeah,
it's a huge number.
I think the official stat was 25% by the end of last year. So we're about a quarter,
Mm-hmm.
um, which is still
Yeah,
significant.
that's a lot.
So yeah, a quarter of what you see on the internet, at least like I said, at the end of last year was about 25. It's probably maybe 26, 27% now,
Mm-hmm.
maybe more. But I think it's pretty big. A big chunk of the internet for it to be. And there's some really huge websites that are being managed and run or built on WordPress now.
How
And I
long
think
have
it's
you been
great.
doing this for
What's that?
WordPress? How long have you been basically servicing WordPress?
WordPress, I would say exclusively. I'd say for the last maybe 3 or 4 years
Oh.
exclusively. I think that just about all of my clients, I'd say about 90% of the clients that we have are all on WordPress, which works out really great for them, and and us as well. Because we were able to use this content management system in order to give them greater power
Mm-hmm.
um, with their website, so that way when they want to make like small changes to their content and things like that, they're able to log in and do that. Both from their desktops or from their phones and things like that, without having to necessarily know, virtually any coding.
Right.
So that really made our lives a little easier, and also made our customers' lives a lot easier, because it made it a little less expensive for them to have to do updates, and we were able to focus on what we like to do, which is managing the back end of everything.
What are most of the problems where your clients are dealing with or coming to you for? What are some of the
Yeah,
most important, most common issues?
common issues.
Mm-hmm.
Common issues really is they know something very 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 well, but they don't know websites very very well. So it's like they have an idea of what they want,
Mm-hmm.
and they know. Let's say, for example, they know how to make dresses. They know how to seams, put seams together, and they know how to follow patterns and whatever, and build and make some really beautiful dresses. But they don't know how that interprets to what is going to look good online, and so that's how we're able to kind of bridge the gap. Where we do a little bit of a different approach, and I think that's the reason why we've been in business for as long as we have, is that we take a more personal approach to our client sites, where we kind of get involved with what they're doing in terms of asking them, how's your business? How does your products and services, differ from your competition? And get a better understanding of what they're doing, so that we can give them the best of what we know in terms of build them an adequate website. And so, by understanding the business better, we can offer the better solutions. Whether that be different plugins, different functionality, domain names, and even offering some business strategy to that effect as well.
Well, where do most of your clients come from? Are they in Central Florida or are they all over the places?
Yeah, I'd love to say they were all here. It's really segmented all throughout the eastern side of the country, because we lived. My family and I lived in Connecticut for a little over 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we have clients that are in and around Connecticut, Boston, or I say Massachusetts, really, Tennessee, Georgia, around the Washington, Delaware, Virginia area, so we call it DMV, as well as Florida.
Oh, that's true.
Trying to think, I don't know if I don't remember us having anybody on the west side.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say just about everybody is all sprinkled around the eastern
Oh, that's
coast.
wonderful, especially
Yeah.
nowadays with Skype and what we're doing now,
Yeah,
and Google Plus, well, Google Chat, and all kinds of possibility that
right,
you're not restricted to any kind of regional boundary.
right,
It's
right.
really good.
It does make it easier.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I kind of pride myself on is that we and we at one point we had a team of about 5 or 6 of us, and we were all remote. Half the team was here in Orlando, and the other half was spread out. One back in Connecticut, and we were really proud of the fact that we were all at least at least from here, and we all worked here. It wasn't something to where if you called us, you got somebody that was overseas. We kind of give that customer care, that we all appreciate, that we like to have, that we wish that we had in a lot of establishments we go to. So yeah, we don't necessarily have to be in any particular location to be able to service. It does help in a lot of cases. It does help,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't have to be there in order to make a really good effort.
Oh, great. So let me see. Okay, you can help people to set up their website or solve any kind of
Mhm.
problem associated with the WordPress, or maybe even
Yep.
suggest what are good plugins to add, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And in addition to that, you can actually also help them to solve problems that they may come up with that they had no idea what was going on, which
Right.
happens, I'm sure, quite often.
It happens all the time.
And then also, you also can help people with photography. Does
Yeah.
that mean also logos and branding or anything else associated with wonderful imagery?
Yeah. Yeah. It does help. I work with a good friend of mine, TJ, and he's our graphic designer, and so he's
Oh,
able to create graphics from scratch. And so what helps out greatly is that when we come across a project where graphics are needed, he's able to render like 3 or 4 different renditions
mhm.
of graphics based on what the customer has in their mind. And some of the harder things in terms of the creative space, and it goes the same in photography side as well, is our clients may have an idea of what they want, and trying to get that idea from their mind onto paper or onto digital or into the real world it can be hard. You have to have patience. You have to
Oh
be
yeah.
able to ask the right questions
Hmm.
in order to kind of get that information out, to get it down to a point to where it's you're pretty precise in terms of what you're creating, so that way it's really close to what they had in mind.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely something that we help out with. In terms of WordPress management, we also do that. In terms of like backups, installing plugins or configuring plugins,
Oh yes.
backing them up, backing up the
Backup
website,
is really important.
security,
Uh-huh.
website migrations. If we have to move a site from one domain to another or things like that, we do those things as well. Yeah.
Are you charging by the hourly rate, or do you have
We
something
do.
like a bundle of questions at a certain rate, or
Yeah.
what
Well,
per project, or how does that
yeah.
work?
We do have an hourly rate
Hmm.
that we charge, and then we also have package offers that we offer for maintenance. That depends on what the customer is looking to have done on a monthly basis. So, whenever we have clients that, for example, we do their content changes for them because they have some consistent changes that have to be done every periodically. Some may be every week, some may be a couple times a month, things like that. So depending on what they need, we're able to create fall them in line in terms of a maintenance package for that, or a content package for that, where we kind of bundle all in. So we're going to go in there, we're going to do the backups, and we're going to do the security updates and things like that, and whatnot, to WordPress, to the plugins, themes, to the files, and all that stuff. And then while we're in there, we're also going to make some updates to the content for them too, which may be changing some images, adding some text, maybe blog posts, things like that, depending on what they want, that fits their budget, but that also makes sense, so that way they can kind of continue to focus on what they know best, and then we can kind of do what we do best.
Very good. Well, usually, how far in advance would you recommend that a potential client to contact you for a project? Do you think?
For a project, well, it depends on on when
How
they have
extensive?
a deadline for.
Oh, that's right.
We love seeing last minute deadlines because we get to charge double for them.
Oh, okay.
But
Mhm.
it kind of goes without saying. It's like you kind of have to prepare, prior, so that way you have the right thing. But we typically like to, let's say with a new website, we typically like to have at least 2 to 3 weeks before they'd like to go live with it, so that way we can have a discovery conversation with them to understand what it is that they really want, what their outcomes are going to be, define some clear goals, and then set up some milestones, so that we know and they know what our progress is, and what their responsibilities are in terms of getting us content, or getting us what we need, so that we can complete the project at a timely manner, when we've set the goal for. So that's pretty much how we work.
Oh, very good. And what about the, let's see, are there a lot of, what kind of payments? Is it usually what, credit card or PayPal's or check, or is that an issue sometimes when it comes to
So
small business? Mhm.
starting out, we used to take anything. You'd be like,
Mhm.
okay, if you want to send us cash, we stop by, pick up the cash. you want to send us a check, we'll do that. If you want to pay us in PayPal, which came up a little later, and that was more popular, we did that as well. And what ended up happening is that we had to move to a credit card only basis. Reason being is because what we do is a service, and so once the service is done, you essentially have your final product. Your product is completed and it's been delivered, or it's been published, or it's been launched. And so for us to have to then, wait or chase after or request and email and call and do that type of running around to chase after for our the payments that are due to us, we had to go digital. So everything that we do now, we either charge 100% up front, or we retain a credit card, so that way we can bill at an incremental basis when we need to, or at a monthly basis when we need to, because we have clients that we bill on a monthly, and that's fine. We do offer that, but then we just have to make sure that we have a credit card that's on file, so we can bill that accordingly. And again, everyone knows what it's going to be. It's not like we have bills that go out or invoices that go out, and we're billing for things that our clients don't know about. They know everything that we're doing and that we're going to be billing them for, so that way they're ready for it. We just like to have that on file, so that way we don't have to play the bad guy, chasing after what's rightfully ours to begin with.
How about
no
PayPal?
one likes to get calls from bill collectors,
Yes. What about PayPal? Then
So
would that make it easier? Do you think?
It's
also more secure for the consumers, isn't it?
Yeah, the only time that we really utilize that is when we are looking to, again, it's if we're doing a project where, we know that we're going to get it done in, let's say, an hour, and we'll have them, send us a PayPal. We'll send them a PayPal invoice, and they'll send that payment to us. But again, that's done at the beginning, not at the end. We've kind of done away with billing or receiving payments for products or products and services that we provide at the beginning, looking for payments after. We don't do that anymore. So we will use PayPal, but only at the beginning.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is a new frontier. I mean, basically, we're seeing a lot of new businesses. And one of the things, have you ever encountered any business that's mobile without a physical? I am seeing a lot of vans nowadays with their imageries on the van, but they don't really have a physical location. Now,
Yeah.
And so, are you dealing with a lot of small businesses like that? They do need websites, though.
Yeah, they absolutely do. They all do. Everybody who has a business is going to need a website, and that's been something for the past, I'd say, 15 years, if not more. But we do work with customers that don't have a physical location, because these days you really don't have to have one.
Right.
It's a big source of overhead, and for a lot of reasons, if you can get away without having that type of overhead, by all means, go for it, because at the end of the day, it comes down to the service, right? If the service is what is great, most people really aren't going to care whether or not you have a location. As long as they need to get in contact with you, via phone or email or via an app, and they're able to get in touch with you, and they're able to get acknowledgement from you, or to hear from you with a relatively quick amount of time. You don't really necessarily have to go somewhere. We really have other things to do. So with those mobile businesses, if anything, what we try to do is look for elements or look for functionality that we can add to their website that makes their job easier. It could be scheduling. So we may do some kind of scheduling or booking type of functionality to the website, so that way they don't have to sit there and continue to look for phone calls, when people can just go on their website 24 hours a day and look at the availability and schedule an appointment for some type of service or some type of delivery or something like that. Things like that actually make their lives a lot easier, and that's what we strive to do.
Yes, and also, what about do you have some customers who's basically trying to make sure they have availability to desktop and mobile devices, and so in that case, there's compatibility issue, and you have to deal a lot with that?
It depends. One of the bigger things would be whether or not the website that they currently have is responsive, meaning does it scale correctly when they're looking at it on a tablet versus looking at it on a 13-inch laptop screen, and then like a 20-inch widescreen device, things like that. Does it all look the way that it should look, on all those different devices? So we do look at that. A lot of times it may be something in terms of optimizing theme, whether that's a custom theme or it's a premium theme. And then in some cases it may be that the theme doesn't have that type of functionality, and we may look at redesigning the site with a theme that does. And then so at that point, we're reviewing, either a couple different themes that we've used, or if they want a custom theme developed, then we would look at doing that as well. But making sure that that theme that we do create for them, regardless if it's a custom theme or a premium theme, that it is responsive, so that way it does work well and look well on all devices.
Great. What are some of the plugins you would recommend for must-have, basically?
A must-have. So my first one would be Jetpack. Jetpack comes from Automatic, which are the makers of WordPress, and who maintain it. So I highly recommend that, because Jetpack by itself has so many options in it, including its own CDN, its own image optimizing, its own social media sharing, its own security things that security options that it has in there for brute force, as well as a bunch of other things. So that would be the first one. So a lot of times people think they need to have 10, 15, 20 plugins. If you can consolidate them down to a few and that actually do work for what they do, all the better. Jetpack is one of those that you can actually utilize as being one plugin that does so many other things that you don't necessarily need to have all these additional plugins that may slow down your website in order to bring you that functionality. Another one that we use is called WordFence. We use that for security. It scans both your website files for WordPress that are in your directory, as well as the files that are there, both plugins and theme, to check the WordPress repository to see if the files that you have are the most updated, and if there are changes or things that may have happened to your files. It'll show you where those changes are to make sure that you can either approve that change, or maybe you want to revert to that just to see if maybe there's some malicious code that's running through your site or through the server that shouldn't be there. So that's one. And again, that WordPress is kind of like an all-in-one in terms of security. It does so many things, including forcing your users to use strong passwords, as well as notifying you, sending you by emails whenever you have to have some updates done to your website. So yeah, WordFence and Jetpack are my two top favorites.
We're getting a lot of viewers or readers who are having problem with spam. Spam is a big issue. So
yeah,
yes,
it'll help. That'll help with that. I'll also suggest the Kismet, which comes preloaded with any WordPress install anyway. Again, that's from the team at Automatic with WordPress Foundation. So I would highly suggest that. Like I said, it comes free. Just install that and get a license to get that to activate for you. It'll stop so many. And what's great about that is that since a lot of database for the spammers that are out there are being pulled together, so it's only getting smarter and smarter the more that we continue to use it. So all the more reason to use that plugin.
That brings whenever they have to upgrade or to the next version, whether or not they are always hesitating. Should I or should I not? Am I going to lose it?
And you know what? That's always a threat when it comes to any type of update that you're going to do on your website. So whether that be WordPress, as a whole, you really want to make sure that you do perform a backup, right? So that way you have that. I mean, that's what you should be doing anyway on a regular basis, depending on how often you make changes to your website. If you're the type of person that is making changes to your website pretty much every week, you probably want to have a weekly backup. But if you're someone who only does changes to your website maybe once a month, you need to have a backup maybe once every other month, if that. But the good thing about having those backups is that, if something went sideways, which happens all the time, even to us, where a plugin, maybe during an update of WordPress, something goes wrong on the server and something times out. Revert your website to that previous state while you're able to go and see, or at least investigate wrong or what could have been wrong, so that way you can perform that update safely.
Share a few contact information with our viewers and readers, so if they run into hold up.
Absolutely. They could find me at mostly the same Instagram, and just about everywhere else is at JP Design Theory. At WordPress Orlando when we have our meetups. If you need help with something or some quick